Okay, I just wanted to address this at the top. I was very surprised to realize that the quarters and semifinals were going to take place on the same day today. I somehow missed that in looking over the HOTB pages. I've never had to cover a tournament on this channel where the quarters and the semis were on the same day. It's a very odd set of circumstances, and frankly, I don't really like it as either a viewer or a commentator. There's no time to really settle and allow the storylines to build from the quarters into the semis into the grand finals. And importantly for those teams competing, there's no time to prep. You're having to play two high stakes best of threes on the same day, which there's no way to me that doesn't affect the quality of Counter-Strike. I really hope this was just a one-off for PGL and due to a schedule conflict with IM Chengdu, as this is overall a playoff format I really dislike. Anyways, we had our 4 quarterfinals and our 2 semifinals matches today. Our grand final is now set. We have Aurora taking on Legacy tomorrow. Aurora roundly beat my expectations at every turn. I thought they were going to be dead weight in this playoffs, and now they're squaring off against Legacy, who were my pick to go deep and are trying to go back-to-back LAN wins after their conquest at the CAC. The biggest disappointment of the day in the playoffs, Team Liquid. Let's go ahead and get started with what will be, no doubt, a very large recap. If you guys enjoy this kind of coverage, you know about leaving a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, help me at 10k subs by the end of the year. We are less than 80 subs away from 9,000, so make sure you click that button and help me make that difference today. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and thank today's sponsor. This video is sponsored by Refrag. Refrag is the #1 CS2 improvement platform, letting you take the next step beyond shooting bots standing still to putting yourself in fun game modes that mimic real game scenarios. Refrag is my favorite way to warm up and practice, whether it's using Twist's custom warm-up routine before I stream, or loading up private Nadar servers to learn utility with my buddies. Refrag has me covered. They also just debuted a new game mode called Challenger, which throws you into intense 1v5 retake situations that will challenge your abilities to isolate fights and clear sites in clutch situations. If you want to try Refrag for yourself, you can do so at the link in the description down below or the pinned comment, and the first 100 people who click it can use my code LionHeartZ for a free 5-day trial for Refrag. Also, that same code LionHeartZ is good for a 50% discount off your next subscription. So sign up today, and thank you to Refrag for sponsoring this video. Okay, not wasting any time, our first quarterfinal of the day was between Heroic and GamerLegion, and considering how strong Heroic played in the group stage as we laid out in our group stage recap, I actually had them favored in the series. GamerLegion had to struggle to make it into the playoffs and didn't really show me any inspiring CS along the way. And when we got the series started with a 13-8 win on Ancient for Heroic, I felt very vindicated on that point. GamerLegion initially started off strong, going up 5-1 early on their T-half, but Heroic battled back very strongly off the back of great performances from both Nilo and Alcaran. They flipped that 5-1 deficit into a 6-6 half, and with a T-side pistol win, they simply never looked back. GamerLegion, after having that 5-1 lead, would only win 3 more rounds for the rest of the game. Nilo and Alcaran were especially impressive on the way that they were retaking bomb sites on the CT side. They worked very well with Nilo taking mid control, Alcaran floating with the op. When they had to come back into these B retakes that happened a few times in the first half, they were just efficient in winning whatever 1v1s they found themselves in. For GamerLegion, the biggest slow start here was Hypex having a terrible first game going for 11 and 18, and then PR having a terrible time when it came to opening duels. Luckily though, PR would lock it the fuck in for the rest of the series. He would top frag both on Dust 2 and Nuke, and be instrumental in holding Heroic to just 6 and 7 rounds on each map respectively. And it just goes to show how much of a case PR does have for Rookie of the Year. If it wasn't for the fact that Molodoy is just straight up winning tournaments, I think the award would go to PR next up. He's been one of the best opening riflers the entire year. He's putting up great high volume numbers at event after event. He's just ended up being one of those guys, a lot like Tanir, where there really was no issue in making the jump from tier 2 to tier 1. He seems incredibly comfortable, he's not making a whole lot of mistakes. His game is just already very efficient and very polished and balances off of res so very well. GamerLegion feel like they're very close to turning a corner. If Hypex can be a competitive opper like we all see he can be, then suddenly GamerLegion are right back to being a dark horse contender, a team that can really float around that 10th spot in the world and be a threat to make a playoff run just like this. I sure do hope they go on to do well in their semifinals matchup. It'd be nice to see GamerLegion make an even deeper run than this. Totally unrelated to that, let's talk about Aurora beating Bait in the next quarterfinal matchup. This one was surprising, because obviously I made the main focus of yesterday's recap how much fucking Aurora sucked in this group stage, and they really did look terrible. Well, spoiler alert, I don't know what happened, but Aurora have been possessed by the spirit of a much better team because they rolled out and looked night and day compared to their group stage performance. They opened things up with a 13-10 victory on Dust 2, they dropped an admittedly classic Aurora loss on Mirage 13-8, but then swamped bait right out of the server on Overpass 13-3, with Zontares leading from the front in shades of what you would expect from him as the best player on this team. Focusing on just their map wins, what stands out so starkly is how much more confidently Aurora played compared to what we've seen in previous outings, and maybe that's the key to success. When Aurora are losing and they have to rely on Majors calling, that's where they fall apart. They are at their best when they are cruising, taking duels confidently, aggressively, and just trying to out-aim the enemy opponent. They're not going to beat you on depth. They need Zontares, Woxic, Wacadia, and Jota to just simply be better. And in terms of overall rating, that's exactly what you got out of the big three. Woxic, Wacadia, Zontares. Great for the series, all above a 1.2 or better rating. Zontares only had one blemish, being absolutely terrible on Mirage, but whatever, he bounced back and was significantly better on Overpass to compensate. The reason I bet against them is because of how infrequently they were bringing that confidence to the server. They looked like they were ready to fold over and die versus Astralis literally yesterday, but here, Fate couldn't capitalize on that blood in the water. For instance, they were up 10-8 on their T side on Dust 2, but were unable to close out the game. They lost 6 straight rounds, several times getting into the bomb sites and getting the bomb down, but with no ability to convert those post-plant situations. Had Bait managed to take this first map, this series would be over. They would have done enough, but they allowed Aurora to maintain some hope, some ability to ride out momentum. Yes, they got crushed on Mirage, but Overpass was always going to be a pretty open playing field, one where Aurora could definitely capitalize if their entries came online, and Zontares did, and the end result is Bait getting eliminated. Our next quarterfinals were between Team Liquid and Saw, and now it's time for me to be fucking angry because I don't know how Team Liquid managed to find new and innovative ways to absolutely embarrass themselves in matches they are favored in. Because, listen, all love to Saw. Saw played fantastically at this event. They played amazingly in this quarterfinals. They held up really well against Legacy in the semifinals after this. They very nearly could have made the grand finals of this tournament. That was very much in the cards. They stunned with great tactical depth. They played awesome, almost throwback levels of Counter-Strike, where they were so unreliant on individual success, they were overly reliant on tactical depth and team synergy. It was genuinely entertaining to watch. But dude, come the fuck on. Team Liquid have NeRTZ, AlexF, and Nafly. That should be enough to take care of these guys on Saw without any input from Shuhei or any input from Ultimate. But instead, after a 13-4 stomp on Ancient, it's 2 embarrassing fucking losses on Train and Inferno, where Liquid won a total of 3 combined rounds over the last 2 maps. Holy fucking shit! On the first map, Ancient, Ultimate went 14-11 with 1.33 rating. For the rest of the fucking series, he went 6 for 24. He had 1 kill on the closing map of Inferno. Utterly unexcusable. I don't know, dude, like, how much longer can we give Team Liquid charitability? Because I want to give them more time because AlexF has only just come back in, but the other pieces in the lineup continue to be inconsistent. NeRTZ and Ultimate are game to game. Naf has actually recovered his form. Naf has been consistent, just where you would want him to be. He's made up for the fact that 2024 was his worst year as an individual. He's, for the most part, at least putting up positive ratings in damn near every game they play, every series they play. And more often than not, he's looked honestly very good. It's everybody else on this team that come up suspect. Shuhei is hit and miss an individual. His calling is frankly starting to become suspect. I am not seeing the Shuhei that reminded me of shades of a younger Kerrigan during the Mouse days. I don't know if that was an anomaly and he's not the same color we thought he was, but so far in Team Liquid, it's been tepid at best. NeRTZ, game to game like a motherfucker. Ultimate, the ultimate coin flip. And then AlexF, while being just a luminary, one of the best mechanical players in the goddamn world, full stop, will oftentimes make boneheaded decisions and have flip-floppy performances of his own. Nothing about this Team Liquid team is fucking consistent, and it's so frustrating. Team Liquid have yet to compete at an event featuring the big 3 teams in the top 10. They have not had to deal with Spirit, Vitality, or Mouse at all since the Legion come back into the lineup. They've gone to the Birch Cup, the CAC, and Bucharest. They were, going into it, the highest rated teams in all of those events, or at least in the discussion of being the highest rated teams in those events. And with that expectation of an easier field, they should have been making grand finals bare minimum. But instead, it's mediocre result after mediocre result, and when they lose, it looks fucking apocalyptic. These should be tune-ups. These should be Liquid prepping for the major, ramping up to make a big run as a dark horse. But instead, it's just all shit. Congratulations to Saw once again for playing a fantastic series, but my god, I'm so pissed off with how Liquid played today. Like, this was just, I made this point on Twitter. Being a Team Liquid fan is just a constant humiliation ritual. This team is so tough to watch. Anyways, moving on to our last quarterfinals in a series that was actually legitimately entertaining and not soul-crushing in any way unless you're a Pain fan. We had Pain taking on Legacy, and a little bit of Brazilian on Brazilian crime always produces some lights-out matches, and this one definitely didn't fail to disappoint. Jumping right into it, Legacy would start off with another hot T-side. They dropped the pistol round to Pain, but they fired back with a great force buy win on the second, stealing away the momentum before Pain could even get started. Initially, Pain take control of bottom banana, but a great pop flash from Legacy allows Neeson to take a trade and take that space forward. With a 4-4 advantage, Pain are now split. How are they going to allocate their players to each side of the bomb site? They decide to lean heavy towards B, leaving one player anchored on the A bomb site, leaving a hole for Lux to slip through Arch and into CT spawn. And he picked up this kill on DGT. I'm sure the Legacy players would have flooded to B bomb site thereafter. But him going down here is actually very fortuitous, as Legacy almost walked into a stack. They instead slow down, rotate back to A, and with less than 10 seconds left, they win the trade war there, getting the bomb down and leaving us in a 2v2. Neeson, with that Tech 9 and 2 kills on the round already, is going to tuck into apps and play bait to his teammate excellently and win out this clutch round and equalize the score at 1-1. Pain force buy back in the round thereafter, but Legacy are content playing things very slow. They're going to take as much time as humanly possible, eventually coming down into a sub 30-second B hit, where they're going to flash through the B smoke, take their 2 picks, and force Pain into immediate save, because Inferno fucking sucks sometimes like that. And while the saving sucks, it does allow Pain to rebuy in the next round and even get an AWP and an M4 on the field, so they can really try and contest Legacy. However, it's not really going to matter. Going much more faster, the way you'd expect from Legacy, Dumao and Lux take 2 picks apiece, no trades come through from Pain, and they just have to slink away and save yet again. Truly frustrating if you're Pain at this point, because you're not even getting to play these rounds. Now, of course, again, that saving sucks, but it allows Pain to remain competitive in these follow-up rounds despite their economy being low. And on the 6th round, it finally pays off. They don't get decimated on a B take. They win their trades. They cut Legacy down to a 3v3, and then DGT on the rotate gets a great double kill to seal the round off. Unfortunately, the momentum for this half and the rest of the game would stay firmly in Legacy's way, and they end up closing the map out 13-7, as we already said. Dust 2 would prove to be much closer, and at one point it looked like Pain might get eliminated 0-2, as they found themselves on a severe deficit in the second half CT side, with Legacy on a huge win streak. Throughout the end of the first and into the second, they had won 8 straight rounds. A 10-7 lead, you're on the T side of Dust 2. Legacy should have been finishing off this game nearly every single time, but Pain managed to persevere off the back of plays like this. Trying to stomp the mid control from Legacy, Pain are going to get aggressive into B tunnels early and nearly catch Neeson off guard, and QZ even legging him through the big pillar with an op down to 2 HP. Neeson counter smokes to the front of tunnels, and then on a ballsy fucking read, walks through his own smoke onto B site as Snow goes outdoor, and NQC has his back turned on the backup platform, catching an insane timing, getting that pick on NQC before going down. Meanwhile, the chaos of the mid to B take is underway. Legacy, they're out in front of mid, they got CT smoked. Lotto gets a pick on a player walking through CT, not checking the corner. Snow is the only man on the B side. This should be a site take, bomb plant, round over. The Legacy make one crucial error. Because they're worried about extra CTs walking through the mid to B smoke, they push Snow just one at a time into B site. They never group up and double push window and door at the same time, so Snow is given 3 consecutive 1v1s that he wins for a 4K on the round and a huge burst of momentum for Pain to get that round on the board. In the following round, I think Legacy felt a little bit pushed to try and do the same thing again. They go for that mid to B split with Neeson lurking out tunnels, but it's just way worse. The smokes are more disjointed. It gets cut down by DGT and Snow holding things down. Lux and Sadzin do their best to get the save down, but they're not really able to make it happen. And because Legacy are forced into a save on the next round, the score is now tied 10-10. Things are starting to get real tight if you're Legacy. I really like the double op play from Pain, as it gives them another way to work the map control. Biguzera walks right into lower tunnels. It's a great opening shot there to give them the 5v4 advantage. Now Dumao immediately equalizes it with a great pick on top of Cat, but Dumao, love him or hate him, is going to play aggressive no matter what. As his team groups up for the Cat push, he is just going to send it at Mach Jesus over the top of the Cat smokes into CT, right into the loving embrace of NQZ, who no-scopes his ass out of the air. NQZ scoops up his AK, takes a second pick onto Sadzin as the Legacy players are pushing the bomb site, and then there's David and Goose for a double kill to end the round. And now it's desperation time. Pain are looking at match point, Legacy are fucking broke, it's a Galil and a bunch of pistols. Now admittedly, this is almost a classic Legacy round out of fucking nowhere, as they're once again going to really focus on mid control eventually into a late Cat, but the problem is nobody's holding the long flank, so David's able to just walk up and shoot a player in the back of the head on Xbox, immediately making things a lot harder for the Legacy players. But Lux and Dumao with the deagles are just going to go crazy, taking 3 picks between the two of them, suddenly cutting this round down to a 2v2 post-plan situation. And if Lux wasn't just stuck at no health, trapped in CT with both players barreling down on him, maybe this was a round Legacy could win, but they couldn't. Pain take that round and close out the game on the next round after, meaning we're going to a third map on Nuke. And this was an insane Nuke map, but somehow not the most insane Nuke map Legacy would play on the day. More on that in just a minute, but the big thing to know is that Pain jumped out with an unreal 5-round stretch to start this game, and it looked like possibly Legacy's T side was going to falter at the worst possible minute. The only reason they get back into this game and flip this into such a dominant victory is off the back of Lux being one of the best clutch players in the world this year. I mean, his first one this game was a 1v3 on the lower bomb site with a fucking deagle. He picked his engagements perfectly, he worked the clock down, which is the most important part of winning clutches in these types of situations, making the other team force themselves into mistakes, and it got Legacy flowing. They were able to spin that into momentum they simply didn't let go of. He was responsible for 3 total clutches in this game, and when you consider that Pain, again, went 5-0 to start, only win 2 more rounds for the rest of the match and the series, that is insane impact from someone who was cut from Pain's roster not that long ago for being a lackluster talent. What utter sweet revenge, and doing it in this playstyle you defined for yourself with this roster. This is an awesome story for Legacy, an even more awesome story for Lux. This was a fantastic way for them to make the semifinals. Spoiler alert, they go on to make the grand finals, so now they're threatening to go back-to-back in their most recent tournaments, which would be fucking incredible. Now, normally this is where the video would end, but because ESL are dicks and don't know how to share space on the calendar, we had to have the semifinals on the same day. I talked about this in the intro. I didn't really understand what the problem was at the time. Obviously, it's I am Chengdu. I'm not going to go back and fix it. The intro's already there. This is a nightmare for a lot of reasons. Logistically speaking, it's just worse for the viewers. PGL have been put in a terrible spot, and we've really got to question the results of the semifinals because of it. Because GamerLegion should be game to give Aurora a good match on any given day. They won 2 total rounds. Aurora 13 won them on both maps. Major had a 2.02 rating for the series. Like, full credit for Aurora. I thought there was no way in hell they'd make the finals in this tournament. They're now in the grand finals, and they played fantastically today. But I do believe they benefit from the fact that they were really hot in their quarterfinals, and then the same day, they got to play one more without GamerLegion having the benefit of any of the prep. Like, as much as I dislike Aurora, I hate when there are asterisks. There's nothing more annoying to me than when people can poke holes in results. I want wins to be legit. I want wins to be straight up. I don't want to have to question if Aurora would have played this well if this was done tomorrow versus today. Because let's be honest, Major's not going to be this good tomorrow if they play GamerLegion again. It's just not going to happen. He's not a good individual player. He caught fire, no pun intended, at the right moment, and they burned GamerLegion because of it. But would GamerLegion play better themselves? There's so many questions that unfortunately to be left in the air because of the same day best of 3s. Like, again, Aurora played great. I will not downplay that. It's an annoying set of circumstances. At least the other semifinal was much more entertaining. Legacy versus Saw was really compelling until we got to the third map. Inferno was Saw jumping out with an insane first half CT side. They quieted the aggressive Legacy players, holding them to just 2 rounds total, and that's just not going to happen often at all. Legacy are so proficient on their T side, and especially utilizing pace changes, great fake timings, but none of that. Saw utterly shut it down. Utirez was just calling and mid-running at a very high level. Most of all, the impact out of Aragorn, Crazy, and Story was just awesome to watch. These two, Crazy and Aragorn, as young riflers, have really impressed me throughout this event, as I talked about in the group stage, and this was their big moment. Doom Out, Lux, and Lotto are so hard to deal with, and they handled it with aplomb. Moving on to Nuke, Agile would be the one to step up in place of Crazy and Aragorn, and Saw once again would look like firmly the better team throughout most of this contest. They navigated a tough T side, winning 5 rounds and keeping Legacy from running away with it, but again, their CT side for Saw was just so proficient, and they found themselves with a 12-10 lead, threatening to 2-0 and make it into a grand finals, which would have been just a huge moment for this squad that has been on nobody's radar as of late, it has to be stressed. But for whatever reason, Legacy just have a crazy clutch factor that's so hard to quantify. It's really weird how this game spun out of control for Saw, because there were several rounds in a row throughout the end of regulation into overtime where Saw simply weren't defending these lower bomb site takes. They were allowing Saw to get control of lower B and Secret for free with no contestation, oftentimes going late into these rounds with all 10 players still alive, but Legacy having full control and trying to push through lower bomb site into ramp. It was genuinely bizarre how they got burned by this lower bomb site exposure but didn't adapt to it. They refused to push our rifler down to Secret at the beginning of the round or try and take info space outside or into lobby afterwards. They were just content holding and waiting and reacting, and Legacy were able to take that and flip it into chaos and benefit from it. From a 12-10 deficit, Saw wouldn't win another round. Legacy would go into beast mode. It was truly bizarre because it felt like Saw had all the momentum in the world. It felt like they believed they had won this series already, and as soon as they hit overtime, they deflated. They started making mistakes, the aim was a little less sharp. It was like you could visibly watch the confidence drain out of the players' faces, and Legacy responded by getting even stronger, more aggressive, more in their faces, and punishing those exposures even more. And there's no real way to go about this. This was a mental boom from Saw. They tilted out of this game. They could not recover between maps, and they showed up on Ancient as a literal shell of what they were on the previous 2 maps in the series. They got thumped by Legacy's opening CT side, only winning 3 rounds. Story felt like the last player left who really had fight in him. He ends the game going 13-14 with a 1.51 rating. The next best player is Mutiris himself, who went 9 for 16 with a 1.02. Crazy had 3 kills. Agile had 5 kills. Aragorn had 8 kills. It's just not good enough against such a tough and tenacious team in Legacy. And it really sucks because, again, Saw were fantastic at this event. They turned heads in a way that I haven't seen, well, since the last time Saw made a breakout at an event, like they did with Udrix and Arados back at IEM Cologne a few years back. Looking ahead, assuming Aurora managed to maintain their form from today, we should have an absolute fucking banger of a grand finals, but I'm going all in. Legacy are going back for back. They're winning PGL's Masters Bucharest tomorrow, and it's going to be another good weekend for Brazil. Stamp it. I'll see you guys tomorrow with the recap. If you guys enjoy this kind of video, show me leaving a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Help me 10K subs by the end of the year. Thank you to Refrag for sponsoring this video. It's the #1 way to get better at CS2. Level up your game today and click the link in the description down below. Use my code LionHeartZ for a 15% discount on your next subscription. Thank you to Refrag. Thank you to my channel members, Justin, Jesse, Furley, Milan Berta, Bubblesj, Dr. Cocktor, Patatas Kaftesi, PTR, B1 Cody Foxworthy, Joseph Van 8, I'm Flash Makes Snowy White, Rowdy, LBKcs, Snax Enjoyer, Crunchyroll, zerotwocs, drudenae, chron, Gano, Zyro, Devvrat Singh, Clyde Mead, and AlexF. If you want to become a channel member, you do so links for double. If I like something, the game video just like this, plus custom order community Discord. Follow me on Twitter, series, LionHeartZ, see you guys soon in another video. Peace.